welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. To the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, receives a phone call from the German President to extend greetings on the 60th independence anniversary. The President of the Republic receives the Portuguese Foreign Minister, João Gomes Cravinho. The President of the Republic congratulates teachers on the occasion of the World Day celebrated every year on October 5th. The Somalian President confirms his participation in the upcoming Arab Summit while receiving the Communication Minister, the President's Special Envoy. And in the same context, high expectations are echoed in several Arab countries concerning the importance of the key event. Good evening, those were today's headlines. First, in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Wednesday a phone call from the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who congratulated him on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of independence, hailing the excellent relations existing between the two countries. The two heads of state discussed on the occasion ways and means of consolidating the bilateral relations and boosting investment in all sectors, notably in energy and renewable energies, mechanical industries, construction, cultural exchanges, as well as cooperation in the health sector with the construction of a project of an Algerian Qatari German hospital. The two presidents agreed on the necessary holding of the Joint Cooperation Commission as soon as possible. They also reviewed the regional and international issues of common interest, including the situation in the Sahel and Mali, while stressing the need to find peaceful solutions in Libya via the holding of elections. The German president expressed his country's support for the role of the UN envoy to Western Sahara, while thanking Algeria for its pivotal role in establishing peace and stability on the regional and continental levels. The President of the Republic received on Wednesday the Foreign Affairs Minister of Portugal, João Gomes Cravinho. The audience took place in the presence of the Foreign Minister, Mamra, as well as the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, Abdelaziz Khilaf. Following the audience, the Portuguese Foreign Minister had this to say to the news reporters.
Bonjour. J'ai eu l'honneur d'être reçu par Son Excellence, le Président de la République.
I was honored to be received by the President of the Republic. I conveyed to him the greetings of his Portuguese counterpart. During the meeting, I stressed the importance we attach to the visit of President Tebboune to Portugal, more likely to be in 2023. It would be an opportunity to consolidate our friendly relations. The current era is marked by unstable relations. In such circumstances, we count on friendly and stable countries in which we have trust. As you know, we have historical ties with Algeria. We hope to upgrade them in the future. This visit, the first of the kind, for me as Foreign Minister, is meant to further consolidate our relations. I met also with the Algerian Foreign Minister, who is a friend of Portugal. I'm also a friend of Algeria, and I mentioned it to the President of the Republic.
In a related activity, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Settled Abroad, Mamra, held talks on Wednesday with his Portuguese counterpart. The discussions were later on extended to include delegations of the two countries. Both parties discussed the bilateral relations and the means to promote them in all sectors. Later in the day, the Portuguese Foreign Minister João Gomes Cravinho laid a wreath of flowers at the Martyrs Sanctuary here in Algiers, where he observed a minute of silence on the memory of the martyrs of the glorious National Liberation War. In other news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, congratulated the teachers on the occasion of their World Day, which coincides with October 5th of each year. We reiterate our permanent commitment to support you, as well as the faith we have in you, to ensure modern and developed teaching, wrote the President of the Republic on his Twitter account. In his capacity as a special envoy of the President of the Republic, the Communication Minister Mohammed Bouslimani was received on Wednesday in Mogadishu by the President of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, to whom he handed the invitation sent by the President of the Republic, inviting him to partake in the proceedings of the next Arab League due to be held in Algeria. On this occasion, the Communication Minister conveyed the greetings of the President of the Republic and his willingness to witness Somalia's participation in the summit. For his part, President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud confirmed his participation in the summit as the head of a high-level delegation. He also reiterated his country's support for the efforts made by Algeria for the success of this important Arab event, expressing his happiness and pride to take part in the summit that will be held in the Algerian soil, the land of victories, an opportunity that also coincides with the anniversary of the outbreak of the November Revolution. The Somalian president tasked the Minister of Communication to convey a written message in which he greeted the President of the Republic, adding that his participation in the summit will be an opportunity to discuss with his brother, President Tebboune, the ways and the means of boosting bilateral relations. This meeting, during which the Somalian Foreign Minister Abshar Omar Horsi was also present, put forward the excellent relations existing between the two countries, as well as the common will to upgrade them. The President of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujil, received on Wednesday a delegation of the Parliamentary Algerian-Saudi Friendship Group at the Shura Council of the Saudi Arabian Kingdom, headed by Asaf bin Salim Abu Tanain. Salah Goujil recalled on the occasion to the Saudi Parliamentary Group the deep institutional reforms undertaken by Algeria under the leadership of the President of the Republic, in line with the November 1st, 2020 Constitution. The President of the Council of the Nation then highlighted the strong relations binding the two countries, relations that date back to the glorious National Liberation War based on mutual respect. In the same context, the parliamentary group was equally received by the President of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, who recalled all the important phases that Algeria went through under the leadership of the President of the Republic, the objective of which is the completion of the institutional edification process and the development of national economy. The Palestinian cause was also at the heart of the discussions, during which Brahim Boughali reaffirmed Algeria's attachment to the right of the Palestinian people to recover their land, while stressing the need to find solutions able to permanently end discord among the Arab nations, adding that Algeria, which will host the next Arab summit, hopes that the outcomes will serve the Arab causes and unify the Arab ranks. For his part, Abu Tanain affirmed that relations between Algeria and Saudi Arabia are deeply rooted and strong, based on cooperation and coordination, so as to better defend the Arab interests. And ahead of the Arab summit, positive echoes keep hailing from the Arab countries concerning the importance of this major event, as it is the case in Qatar and Lebanon. More details with Melissa Kobash.
Although the state of Qatar is preparing for a major sports event, namely the 2022 World Cup, Algeria's Arab Summit remains an important date for Qataris, who are considering it as an opportunity to unify the Arab world, especially with Algeria's ongoing efforts towards this goal.
Algeria is in our hearts and memory, a country that 1.5 million martyrs sacrificed their lives for its independence, a country that we are proud of. Today, Algeria is preparing to host the Arab Summit, which I hope will lead to great results for all Arab countries. As Qataris, we are sure that Algeria lives up to this event and will mobilize and provide the necessary means to welcome all the countries present to settle all issues of common interest.
قاومت ونالت استقلالها بدماء أبنائها.
دولة الجزائر من الدول الناهضة والداعمة في هذا الجانب الكبير.
Algeria is part of the countries that accompanies young people who represent a major party in the population and are the main factor in society. As you know, the Arab youth is under attack by a cultural invasion, which is why it's very important to them to hold on into their roots and culture so as to unify the Arab ranks.
The reinforcement of the Arab common action in different fields is a priority, according to Qatar's public opinion. The development of cooperation between Algeria and Qatar, namely the economic field, is very important in an international context marked by a sensitive socio-economic life of Arab nations. Therefore, this summit is an occasion to reassess the situation.
Alongside political issues, other questions and files must be discussed, including the economic interest of the Arab peoples, the future of our youth, the identity of the Arab culture, the economic cooperation, as well as the exchange of ideas and points of view.
Speaking of common points, the Palestinian cause will be discussed during this summit with the aim of finding a solution to this thorny file. On the other hand, the Lebanese people hailed for their part as well the pivotal role played by Algeria in the Arab region and its position in defending the fair causes like the Palestinian file, which remains among the priorities.
Similar reactions and expectations are marking the Saudi, Emirati and Mauritanian peoples, as we will discover in the following report compiled by Ines Killo.
The international media, notably Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, are attaching great importance to the Arab Summit, which will be held in Algiers next November. The decisions that will be taken at the summit are eagerly awaited by the Arab media in view of the current world developments.
Algeria has always united the ranks and has never cut them. We hope that Algeria's summit will be that of closing ranks. When the Arab countries meet, they become a force.
قمة القمم لأن هناك اجتماع عربي كامل وهو توحيد الصف العربي بعدما كان هناك الخريف العربي.
I consider this summit as a huge step in the Arab rule because it aims to unite the ranks of the Arab countries in all economic, political and even food security fields.
The journalists of the Mauritanian public channel also attach a particular interest to this event, and they are getting ready for a distinguished coverage via special programs dedicated to the event.
الملفات المطروحة على هذه القمة
The files to be dealt with at the Arab Summit require significant presence of the media. Mauritanian TV, like all other Arab channels, will be present at this event. There will be close follow-up of the proceedings and the decisions to be taken. This summit is very important with the presence of several leaders of the Arab world. Algeria will undoubtedly take up the challenge, namely the successful organization of this major event.
All Arab media outlets are ready to ensure an extensive coverage of Algeria's summit with the hope of addressing the challenges facing the Arab nation at all levels.
In other context, the proceedings of the 5th World Conference on Constitutional Justice are still ongoing. Omar Belhaj, the president of the Constitutional Court, is taking part in this conference at the invitation of his Indonesian counterpart, Secretary General of the conference. Omar Belhaj chaired on Wednesday the first session centered on sources and judicial mandate. In another development, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies decided on Wednesday at their 33rd ministerial meeting to cut the alliance's total oil production by 2 million barrels per day starting from next November. The 23 OPEC Plus countries have thus opted for a sharp drop in their overall production. This presidential meeting was held in the OPEC premises in Vienna, Austria, with the participation of the Energy Minister Mohamed following several meetings held via video conference since March of 2020. In another context, the National Education Minister Abdelhakim Belabed took part in a meeting held at the UNESCO premises in Paris, a World Day that aims to raise awareness of the importance of the role of the teacher in the educational system. In a keynote speech delivered on this occasion, Abdelhakim Belabed put forward the paramount place that Algeria grants to the sector of education. Algeria is to host the proceedings of the 67th edition of the African Tourism Commission relevant to the World Tourism Organization. The decision was taken during the Regional Commission meeting for Africa held in Tanzania. This choice denotes Algeria's comeback at the level of the world institutions. In another topic, a memorandum of understanding for the construction of the Algerian Qatari hospital was signed on Wednesday in the presence of the Health Minister Abdelhak Saihi and the Qatari ambassador to Algeria, Abdulaziz Ali Nama. The memorandum of understanding was signed on the Algerian side by the Health and Population Director of Algiers province and on the Qatari side by the chairman of the Board of Directors of the Qatari Investment Holding Group. On this occasion, the Health Minister said that the signing of this memorandum comes in line with the guidelines of the two countries' leaders. And debates on the government's general policy went on at the National People's Assembly with the presence of Prime Minister Ayman Ben Abdurrahman in a plenary session. The MPs called for the opening of more bank branches abroad and modernizing the financial system. The Premier is expected to respond to the MPs' questions and inquiries. And Algeria is determined to fight the scourge of illegal money transfers. Severe penalties will be imposed pursuant to the President's instructions meant to uproot this serious phenomenon. More insights with Melissa Kobash.
As announced by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, during the last Council of Ministers, the high authorities of the state are determined to fight against all forms of infringing legislation and regulation of foreign exchange and capital transfers from and towards abroad.
Algeria has faced during the past years a large amount of illegal transfers of its hard currency to overseas, alongside an overcharge of imports and a deficit in the trade balance, which negatively impacted the national economy.
Indeed, during the last Council of Ministers, it was a question of preserving and protecting by all means the country's money from embezzlement.
The overcharge of imports alongside the illegal transfer of currencies abroad have seriously hit the country's economy. Another important point, which was evoked by the President of the Republic, is countering the parallel market through a bill related to money and credit, which will fill the judicial void and fight against this scourge.
The President of the Republic underlined that any attack on the national economy is an unforgivable crime that requires the heaviest penalties.
The order number 9622, released in the official gazette on the 9th of July 1996, related to the repression of infringing the law and the regulation of exchange and capital movements from and towards abroad, will be amended by a new law so as to fill these gaps.
Algeria is determined to fight against illegal transfer of currencies. No less than 219 international commissions, including 43 already executed and 156 being preceded by the judicial authorities of concerned countries, have been mobilized to thwart this phenomenon.
In another context, successful operations were carried by the National People's Army over the past week, denoting the high professionalism, vigilance and readiness of our armed forces in fighting terrorism and organized crime. Sabrina Ferganit has more details.
Within the framework of the fight against terrorism, detachments of the National People's Army arrested 7 individuals supporting terrorist groups and separate operations carried out across the national territory. concerning the fight against organized crime and continuity with intense efforts aimed at contouring the scourge of narco-trafficking in our country. Detachments of the National People's Army have arrested in coordination with several security services during various operations carried out across military regions 69 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to smuggle huge quantities of drugs across the borders with Morocco, amounting to 14 quintals and 39 kilograms of cannabis, alongside 462,598 psychotropic tablets. Detachments of the National People's Army also intercepted in the provinces of Tamanrasset, Burj Baji Makhtar, and Gizam and Janet 110 individuals and seized 28 vehicles, 172 generators, 192 jackhammers, 7 metal detectors, detonating tools and equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. 47 other individuals were apprehended and 18 hunting rifles, quantities of foodstuff destined for smuggling amounting to 129 tons, 45 quintals of tobacco, 155,057 units of pyrotechnic articles, and 17,143 units of various drinks were seized in Adrar, Tamanrasset, Burj Baji Makhtar, Betna, Biskra, El Wed, Laghwat, Ain Difla, and Ghilizan provinces. For their part, the border guards, in coordination with the National Gendarmerie Services, thwarted attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel, amounting to 152,275 liters in Burj Baji Makhtar, Adrar, Tamanrasset, Tibissa, Tarif, and Souq Ahras provinces. Finally, the Coast Guards thwarted at the level of our national coast attempts of illegal immigration and rescued 159 individuals on board of homemade boats, while 336 illegal immigrants from different nationalities were arrested through the national territory.
And during the proceedings of the Fourth Committee of the General Assembly of the United Nations in charge of decolonization issues, Latin America and the Caribbean states reiterated their firm support for the efforts made by the UN Secretary General and his personal envoy to achieve a fair and permanent political settlement mutually acceptable and which guarantees the right of the Sahrawi people for self-determination. They also reiterated their commitment to the eradication of the colonial occupation that many peoples in the world still suffer from. And we wrap up our today's news edition with Morocco, which is facing an unprecedented social crisis worsened by drought and a sharp drop in agricultural production and tourism revenues, which seriously hit the daily life of the citizens. Story by Ines Killo.
Exceeded by social injustice, the decline in purchasing power, and the installation of extreme poverty, Moroccans are determined to continue their struggle. Life is becoming more expensive in Morocco. The rise in prices has affected all products, without exception. Starting with basic foodstuffs, vegetable and fruit have not escaped the surge in prices, which has driven Moroccans into misery. An unbearable situation against which the population is protesting in several Moroccan cities, calling for the departure of the Makhzen regime, which is incapable of finding a solution to the situation. In addition to the social crisis, the Makhzen is facing the worst economic crisis that can exist. The drought, as well as drop in agricultural production and tourism revenues, have negatively impacted the Moroccan economy, which is experiencing an unprecedented crisis caused by an imprudent and risky policy of government. A situation that turned into a trade deficit that has increased by 56.5% to more than 214 billion dirhams or $20 billion during the first 8 months of the year, according to the Moroccan Foreign Exchange Regulatory Authority. Imports increased by nearly 50% compared to the same period last year to reach 491.5 billion dirhams. In only 8 months, Morocco's energy bill has increased by 128.3% to reach 103 billion dirhams, or almost $10 billion. The wheat bill has also doubled to reach 18.8 billion dirhams. The tourism sector, which has also hit rock bottom, is struggling to regain its position in 2022, with revenues not exceeding 52 billion dirhams, figures that are clearly below all expectations.
And with that, our today's news program comes to a close. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.